righty, welcome to the Gridiron, baby. Basically, where we talk about how great the Giants are and how bad the Eagles and the Cowboys really suck. As always, if you subscribe, like, and share this video, it'd be absolutely freaking awesome. Description box below, very top link in the description box takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. If you want to help support my channel out, it would mean the absolute world to me. And also just a little ways down in the description box, I got 2 additional links. The bottom one takes you to my Twitter account. Follow me on Twitter, I'll follow you back. And then the link on top of it takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. Please join it. You won't be dissatisfied. I promise. All right. Well, let me tell you, Hard Knocks, they were building up and episode 5, that's where the draft is going to be. A lot of nice little nuggets in there. Joe Shane had a lot of, it was pretty cool because he was going over a lot of scenarios. Yeah, obviously you don't know for sure, but toward the end there, he was sitting down, right, with Mara in there. Coach Daves was in there. Oh, here goes my buddy Randy. All right, Randy's here. We can continue. Mr. Tish was in there. Shane was in there, but on the board up there, he was kind of like going over, what we think is going to happen. Caleb's going to go 1, and Daniel, Daniels and might go 2, May might go 3, vice versa, whatever. Then it was kind of like, and he kind of seemed to think, quite possibly Harrison Jr. was going with the Cardinals was going to go 4. Then like a little bit of the wild card was kind of like Harbaugh at 5. What were the Chargers going to wind up doing? But he seemed to think that there was a good possibility that they were going to take a tackle. So, and they were also talking about kind of like if Neighbors or Harrison Jr. is there at 6, they're just going to turn the card in. But he had all kinds of stuff set up. Obviously, moving back, moving up, right? You got a little teaser because the draft, of course, I guess it was like what, at 8 o'clock, just when the draft was getting ready to start. That was when Hard Knocks ended. But a little teaser was the Giants were on the clock. They showed, like next week's episode, and the Jets called. Obviously they turned it down, but the Jets called. I said he had some stuff is set up, behind him. One of the things he was talking about, he showed a kind of like a scenario where he fell back to number 9 if the Bears wanted to come up at number 6, and they swapped picks with the Bears. They would get. I think he said, if they fell back to 9 with the Bears, wouldn't that be funny? I mean, well, not funny, but I mean, hopefully there were better results. But a few years ago, who did we trade back with? The Bears, right? Didn't work out too well for us. Didn't work out well for either team, right? We took Kadarius Knucklehead, and they took Justin Fields. Neither one's on the teams anymore, right? But I mean, if we traded with the Bears once again, but it was also kind of showing a scenario, right, where we might trade back with the Bears at and get number 9, and we might wind up with either getting Rome, or he was talking about quite possibly Powers. And then Dable was on his way over. I guess it was the night or the day of the draft or whatever. He was I guess talking on the phone with Nick Saban. He was talking about. He's like, "Hey, give me some insight." He said something like, "Give me your top 3 guys or something like that in the draft, or top 3 headache guys or whatever." And he was talking about. He said there's 2 of them. He said we're just straight up headache players, right? Obviously, because I don't even know if he went up against Rome at all. I don't know if he went up against Harrison either. I don't know. Right? If Bama went up against either one of those 2 teams, 2 players, Washington or Ohio State, I don't know. So please forgive me there. But he was saying, he saw himself. He saw Georgia and he saw LSU, right? So he said he said the two guys, he said Neighbors and Bowers, they were headaches. So, but it was interesting. So quite possibly there's a chance that, Bowers, the Giants were, if they would have had to fall back, they were not taking Bowers at 6, right? But it was interesting, very, very interesting. A lot of good nuggets in there, a lot of good nuggets. Actually, I forgot Dable, his birthday. That's my birthday too. Pete Rose's birthday, my birthday, Brian Dable's birthday. The day 14th, and also let's not forget the April 14th, the day the Titanic hit the iceberg. It's not the day the Titanic went down. The Titanic hit the iceberg on the 14th. It went down on the 15th. President Abraham Lincoln got shot on the 14th. He died on the 15th. Just throwing a little history out there for you. So there's a lot of interesting stuff there. I guess this Hard Knocks is available. I'm thinking, or somebody is able to see it or get earlier or something, because basically as soon as the episode was over, you go on New York Giants News on Google and pop it in, and as soon as the episode's over, boom! There's I'm going to go over here. There's an article on Hard Knocks, and they cover it everything. So either somebody's just like a super duper typist, or they had this article already typed up and ready to go, and they just hit, send or whatever as soon as the episode's over. So apparently it must be, available to certain people beforehand, I guess. But let's see. So the Giants' first-round draft scenario is revealed in episode 4 of Hard Knocks. Oh, yeah. Said episode 4 of Hard Knocks, which also led into day 1 of the NFL draft, fully displayed the later stages of preparations. While we all know who the Giants ultimately picked, we also learned just what it would have taken for the Giants to trade out of the 6th overall spot. And another one of those things, too, was like, he was talking with the Patriots. Now he was on the phone with Wolf, I think it was, of the Patriots, and he was saying, maybe not quite, but at the time they were talking on the phone. I think said Wolf was exaggerating, was a little bit, but he said it might take a 1, 2, and 3, 2024, maybe a 1 and 2 next season. He said, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but so it might have taken quite a bit for the, so maybe it would have been a 1 and a 2, and maybe a 1 and a 2, maybe it could have been a 5 or something. I don't know, but it would have taken quite a bit to move up 3 spots. Ultimately, just really seemed like, because the Patriots, they needed a quarterback, right? If the Patriots had a quarterback, right, and they could have, because, they moved back just 3 spots, they're not going to get a quarterback. Or they could have gotten a quarterback, but is McCarthy, Penix, Nix, one of those guys, a pick 6? Probably not, right? So, if the Patriots had, if they were sold on Mac Daddy Jones, right? If he was the quarterback, they could move back 3 spots, get some extra draft capital, right? Get a first this year, a first next year, maybe a second, right? And get themselves a stud of a wide receiver, but they needed a quarterback. And, that's the thing. If you're sold on a quarterback, and that's what Mr. Mara was talking about. He said, I'm going to have heart palpitations. He's like the way it was 20 years ago when we drafted Eli, basically, which it was 20 years ago, 2004. He said, I'm going to have heart palpitations. But he's like, if you're all in on it, if you think this is it, you think is, the quarterback or whatever, this is the guy that's going to bring us home, make the trade if you could. Within reason, of course, without giving away the next 312 first-round picks. Now, interesting, Mr. Mara was also talking about, he was talking about what Ernie Corsi did 2004. He was sold on what Eli Manning was able to do. The one thing was, well, a couple of things was what Eli Manning, it was like what Daniel Jones was doing. Now, Eli probably had a little more success in college than Daniel Jones did, but Eli was, where he was playing it. I mean, there's nobody, getting drafted by that from that team first round. The talent that Eli was playing with in college was just not, non-existent. And Eli kept making play after play after play after play. Right. What sold them or sold Ernie over Eli compared to Ben Roethlisberger was that, obviously Ben Roethlisberger had a very nice college career as well. But what Ben had is the talent that he was playing with, right, and playing against. Eli was in the SEC. He was going up against the best of the best, right? Ben Roethlisberger was not. Ben Roethlisberger was also playing with not the best either, but the talent he was going up against was not the best. Eli, you're seeing the big boys. And that's what sold Ernie Corsi. So obviously we had to give up 2 1s. We had to give up a third. So we gave up some heavy draft capital to move up a couple spots. But that was to get the first pick, right? That was to go from 4 to 1, I believe it was. We had to give up 2 firsts and a third. Here I'm going from 6 to 3, and they wanted 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a third. The firstborn, bag of Doritos. I mean, they wanted a lot, right? So, but Ernie, of course, he was sold on. But that was kind of the same thing like with the Daniel Jones, right? And when they picked him number 6 overall, Daniel Jones, obviously his numbers were not fantastic and all, but, you don't go to Duke to play football. I mean, you do, but you don't go to Duke to play football to get drafted in the first round. That's not happening, right? So that's what Daniel Jones was playing with. And I remember there was a video got put out. I'm trying to think who put it out. But obviously Daniel Jones, it was showing Daniel Jones throwing balls in college to his receivers, and they were just dropping passes. And the guy was saying, you don't go to Duke as a receiver to be drafted in the first round. You're not drafting guys from Duke as a receiver. I mean, it just, And he was showing a lot of video, Daniel Jones throwing balls to his receivers in college. The guys are just dropping passes. So it's like what Daniel Jones was doing in college with very low talent, right? Was kind of comparable to what Eli was doing, kind of, right? I mean, Daniel Jones saw some very good opponents. Obviously, his success probably wasn't quite as good what Eli had, but I mean, it was just the talent level that Daniel Jones had, what he was thrown to, wasn't quite there, right? So, but very, very, just a lot of interesting stuff. But it was kind of like as it was going on, it was kind of like, it was also like, are they going to, in this episode, it's like, I'm thinking, are they going to get to the first round? Are they going to show the first pick and then they'll show the rest of them there? So apparently all the picks the Giants are going to have, I guess, will be in the final episode. Hard to believe. It's episode 4 already. So next Tuesday will be episode 5, and that'll be it. So let's see. So they talk about here. This is SI.com. I guess I don't know. I guess they got access to I guess Sports Illustrated. I guess I don't know. Gets access to Hard Knocks. I'm not sure because 2 seconds after the episode ended, right, I went on NewYorkGiantsNews.com and boom, this long article pops up. That just popped up there about 3 seconds after the episode ended. So I guess they can't put it up, or they don't want to put it up after. But I mean, I guess some people have access to the information. So they talk about the Daniel dilemma. The episode began with a focus on incumbent Daniel Jones on-field workout during phase 2 of the offseason program. But rather than focus on Jones, the thread pivoted to what the Giants would do at that position. Shane was talking with his top lieutenant, spoke of how he ensured there was an open line of communication with Jones to where he understood the situation with concern about his injury history. And he missed 17 games in the past 2 years. Shane emphasized to Jones that just because they were doing homework on the quarterback in the draft class, that didn't mean that they were going to give up. They were giving up on him. They were wrestling on a quarterback decision. We were given more insight into the Giants' internal debate about what to do with the quarterback position. In the preview clip from last week, Dable said he would trade up for Jaden Daniels if he was on the board. The scenes expanded to show clips of top quarterback prospects for their top 30 visit. At one point, Shane asked offensive coordinator assistant head coach Mike Kafka. Finally, Kafka came in. I mean, you saw like a glimpse of him here or there, but really you didn't hear nothing from him. So finally, like in week 4, you find like seeing Kafka, right, the assistant head coach. If he trade up for May, Kafka didn't directly answer the question, but did say, you got a guy that you believe in. I think you go up and get him. Giants' internal struggles continued about the quarterback when they did an exercise reviewing quarterbacks taken in the first round. Dable went back, going back to 2014, like the last 10 drafts, and he was going, I guess, the quarterbacks taken in the first round, dating back to 2014. And he was naming off all these names, right? And after he was like, out of those last 10 draft class, the quarterbacks taken, it's like, how many of them been hits? And it's like, ooh, I don't know, 40%, 45%. They're not home runs in the first round. So some have been, right? But not all. Team owner John Mara, or co-owner John Mara, also confessed to being nervous about giving away too much for a quarterback, but he acknowledged how 20 years ago, then general manager Ernie Accorsi had a conviction on Eli Manning to make the trade. There is no price that's too high if you're right, Mara said. Let's see. Speaking of the deal, if it wasn't clear back in April after word got out that the Giants offered the Patriots 2 first-round picks plus a move to number 3, this episode confirmed that the Patriots weren't really serious about trading down with the Giants unless they got an outrageous offer that included multiple picks in 2025. I said the one guy, Elliot Wolf, said, yeah, it'd be like a 1. I mean, he was exaggerating. He said a little bit, but I said it might take a 1, 2, and a 3 this season. It might take a 1 and a 2 next season to move up 3 spots. So Elliot Wolf of the Patriots told Shane that he would sit back and take a quarterback, but added that they would have called of the trade if they had a quarterback on the roster they felt good about for the long term. Like I said, a couple of years ago, when they had back Danny Jones in there, right? For the first year, kind of like, oh, maybe this guy might be all right. He might be kind of the guy. And, no. But I'm saying if the Patriots were at 3, and if they took Jones, it just goes to show you, once again, you take a quarterback in the first round, doesn't mean he's going to be a hit, right? But I'm saying, but if they had the quarterback and they could trade back 3 spots and get a stud wide receiver or a tackle or something, but get 2 first-round picks and maybe a second round or something like that. Heck yeah, but I mean, they need a quarterback. And I said, unless you are just totally blowing the frick out of the water, somebody calls up and says, we'll give you our next, 2 first-round picks, we'll give you 2 seconds, we'll give you a third, we'll give you a 4th from whatever. But if you're totally blown out of the water, you think about it. But if you need a quarterback and there's a quarterback you believe in, right? And you're picking in the top three. When one of these guys falls to you, it's like, no, we can win with this guy. You just take him. You take him. You got to have a quarterback, right? And especially if you got a chance to take a quarterback, right, that you feel, right, that can take you for the next 10, 15 years or so, right? I mean, you get yourself a quarterback and you can just sit back. Of course, just because you draft a quarterback in the top 3 or 5, whatever, doesn't mean, okay, mark that off the list. We don't need a quarterback. I mean, you guys gotta, obviously he's got to pan out. But, if you can get yourself a quarterback that pans out, and it can be it for the next 10, 15 years, that's a huge sigh of relief right there. So I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all, for staying put. Yeah. And once again, I don't blame Shane either, for not going, giving up all those picks just to move up 3 spots, for quarterback. I just the way, things seem to be. I think we're going to be rather happy with Mr. Neighbors. I think we're going to be very happy in Mr. Neighbors' neighborhood. Does that make any sense? So, all right, the scenarios. Just before the draft first night, Shane ran through multiple scenarios for team ownership, describing what he would do in each and acknowledging the importance of getting a weapon. Shane said he'd be happy with any of the top 3 receivers, but he really wanted either Harrison or Malik. Shane also revealed that he contacted Monty Ossenfort of Arizona to inquire about a trade if one of the quarterbacks he wanted fell off the board because Arizona ain't looking for a quarterback. They got themselves one. So for them, that would have been a win-win-win for Arizona. I mean, the way it would have turned out if one of the quarterbacks was there for at 4, and Arizona was picking. One of the quarterbacks was there. The Giants come a-calling. The Giants move up 2 spots, right? Arizona moves back. Arizona don't need a quarterback. What do they want? They wanted a wide receiver. They go back 2 spots, right? Giants take a quarterback. Chargers take what? A tackle, right? Then the Cardinals are there and they take a wide receiver, right? So they move back, get themselves, I don't know what they would have gotten, but they would have gotten themselves some nice extra draft capital, moved back 2 spots and got probably the same exact guy that would have been available to them at 4. That would have been a home run. That would have been, a home run for the Cardinals without question. So, but I said, Shane, he had a lot of stuff. He had something set up at 4. I think he was talking about going back to somebody wanted 7, moving back to 9. He had all kinds of stuff set up, which obviously, you have to. You have to. I mean, you don't want it where you're on the clock and somebody calls you and you're like, what do I? No, you got to have all your P's and Q's. All right, see. Had Harrison and Neighbors been off the board by the time the Giants were on the clock at 6, they would have sought to trade back with the Titans, who picked 7th, and Shane correctly guessed would be looking to get an offensive tackle. In the end, the Giants' plan was as follows. If the 3 quarterbacks, May, Williams, and Daniels, were off the board, but one of Neighbors and Harrison was still there, the Giants would stay put and just turn the card in. If the 3 quarterbacks and both receivers were off the board, the Giants would have considered moving down with the Bears, who had the 9th pick in the draft in exchange for this pick 6 and the Giants' 5th round pick for pick 9 plus a 3rd and a 4th. So the Giants would have gotten, so that would have been, not too bad. I mean, would have moved back 4 spots. We got an additional 3rd and a 4th. I'd kind of like to get a little bit more than that, but and then we would have gave him our 5th. But it didn't wind up turning out. In short, if the Giants couldn't get a quarterback, they would look to get a weapon for Jones. And, basically it wound up being where, they were kind of like wanting to, if they get Harrison or Neighbors, then we're going to try to turn the card in. Giants offensive line coach Carmen Basillo was seen having a friendly chat with Saquon, who had signed with the Eagles. At the time he was having a conversation, Saquon was, because it was the Penn State. The Giants were there looking at Theo Johnson plus others, but it was the Penn State pro day, and Saquon was there, and Rousseau was talking to him, and they were talking about. I'm sure they talked about a few things, but one of the things that you heard about was that Priscilla was telling, the offensive lineman that the Giants got. And Saquon's kind of like, yeah, man, I wish I had some of those guys when I was playing there. I would have gotten a few more yards, Yeah, I mean, also, it's kind of, it is what it is. I mean, with Saquon getting hurt and all, but I mean, if we had better offensive line play, his numbers would have been a little bit better. Let's see. Priscilla mentioned that Runyon Jr., whom the team signed to play guard, could give them a little something at center, but they weren't going to go in that direction. The Giants' first-round pick comes from the top 30 visits the team hosts every year before the draft. In the past, that's not always been the case, but under Shane, that has been a pattern, which is why it has become important to pay attention to reports of the top 30 pre-draft visits the team has. Dable wasn't the only member of the coaching staff smitten with what Malik Neighbors brought. Oh, Mike Rowe said the same thing. Receiver coach Mike Rowe also seemed impressed and said he'd take Neighbors in the draft if the decision were up to him. He said because Rowe had all three of the guys in the room at the same time. Harrison Jr., Rome, and Malik. He had them all three of them sitting down. And I think after the meeting was over, Shane was talking with him. He's like, if you had your choice, who would you take? And he's like, I don't know if he said Malik or I don't know if he said Neighbors, but he said one. Yeah, he's Malik Neighbors was his guy. So Dable really seemed. One of the things they were talking, I think, in Hard Knocks 3, I think it was they were at the combine, and Dable's cracking open a green can of soda. I don't know if it was ginger ale or Sprite or Mountain Dew, whatever it was. He was cracking something. Said, man, I was watching some of that. I don't know if he said LSU tape or whatever it was, he said that dude's a baller, and he was talking about Malik. So he's pretty juiced up about him. So I think we're gonna, I don't know. I don't want to jump the gun or nothing like that, but Malik, you see some of these guys, when they start talking about him and all and everything, they're like, oh, Malik, and Nick Saban will tell you right there, he ain't going to BS you. He said Bowers and he said Neighbors. There were problems, and when you got Alabama, right, and you got a player causing problems for Alabama, that's saying something. So. I think we did good. I think we did good. Now, whether we it's going to solve our quarterback problem going forward, don't know. But I think, if we can get Jaylen can get a little more time on the field, a little more experience and all that, and get his speed, right? And between Wandale and Malik, I think we got 3 real nice receivers going forward, even if, unfortunately, this is Darius's last season with the Giants. Because he's going to want to get paid. He's going to want to make some money. And the Giants, unfortunately, ain't going to pay him right going forward. It is what it is. Unfortunately, it's it's a beautiful game. It's truly, truly like the greatest team sport. Because it's just not even offense and defense; it's special teams. It's that, So it's a great game, but it's also a big business too. But I said, but then also here, this is what do we got here? Yeah, same thing. There's another story from Pro Football Talk. Let's see. And Shane was asking Wolf once again, "You guys still listening? Or are you guys making a decision?" Shane asked Wolf, as shown in the previews. Wolf answered the Patriots would want multiple first-round picks and multiple second-round picks. I think we're pretty happy with sitting here picking, but again, if you offer us a 1, 2, and a 3 this year, 1 and a 2 next year, Wolf said. Shane asked, it would have to be something crazy like that, and it probably would have to be pretty significant, Wolf answered. Shane was willing to offer the Giants 6th overall pick plus their first round pick next season, plus another pick in 2025 to move up to number 3 overall. But that wasn't enough for Wolf. Once again, I don't blame them. They need a quarterback, as I said, unless you're totally blown out of the water, right? Where you can get like 5 picks or something like that. You know what I mean? Where you can basically, get 5 starters. I don't blame him at all for sitting, where he's at. So, but it's going to be interesting to see how things kind of go down. As I said, there was a little teaser there last at the end next week when the Giants are on the clock. I think it's when they're on the clock in the first round. He said Douglas was calling. It had to be, because he was offering him his first round picks. Yeah. So when the Giants were on the clock, the Jets called, see if the Giants wanted to move back, but I guess they just weren't that interested. All right, not finally. No, next. So the Giants a couple weeks ago, they're letting out their top 100 guys. Well, it was like 2 weeks ago, they did players 100 to 91 plus 90 to 81. So I thought that I thought that's the way it was. 2 weeks ago, they let out 20 guys. So I thought last week they let out 20 guys, and this week 20 guys. And it's not the last week they just let out 10. So I'm kind of thinking maybe this week they're just going to let. I could be wrong. Maybe they're going to let out another 20. I don't know. But last week, what was it? 71 to 80. All right. So this, or just today. It was 61 to 70. So once again, I don't know if they're going to do 51 to 60 sometime this week or they're going to wait till next week. I mean, because basically, maybe they're going to let out 10 a week until maybe the start of the season. I don't know, which would probably work out just about right. So maybe that's how it's going to work. They'll let out 10 a week until basically the beginning of the season. So they let out, okay, oops. So we're going from 61 to 70. So, and once again, it's hard to argue with any of these guys. The only one question, there's only one I have kind of a question on, and this guy, the one guy is pick number 66. I'll get to it when I get there. Who certainly, without question, deserves to be in a top 100 list or whatever, but I'll get to it. That's the only question I have. Is a little questionable about number 66, but so if we go number 70. So they're going back in the day. I think this is so far this is the oldest guy so far. If they wind up putting, I would have a hard time. The only thing. See, if Steve Owen gets put on, the Giants coach from 31 to 53, if he gets put on here, he was a player with the Giants in 26, right? He was a good player. I don't know if he's on this list. That I don't know, but I mean, because he's a player and a coach, so. Interesting to see. I'm not sure if he's once again if he's on it because this is just players. So I'll have to wait and see. But they got Red Badgerow on here. So he's going back to 1930. Morris Red Badgerow. So Red Badgerow is number 70 overall. Right. He joined the Giants in 1930. Played 6 seasons at end. He excelled as a superior defender, excellent blocker, and big play receiver. Badgerow helped lead the Giants to the NFL's inaugural championship game in 33. To me, the greatest championship game of all time. Right? I'm going to tell you why. Well, one of the reasons why in just a second here. So the inaugural championship game of 1933, Red Badgerow scored the first touchdown in title game history on a 29-yard pass from Harry Newman in the second quarter. Right, one of the reasons why I think it's the greatest championship game of all time was because if you're going back to 1933, right, the touchdown pass he scored was the first of 6 lead changes. You didn't get 6 lead changes back in the day, and had that happened in a championship game. The Bears are winning 6-0. His Red Badger's touchdown reception made it 7-6. The Bears, I believe, kicked the field goal to go up 9-7. The Giants scored a touchdown to go up 14-9. The Bears scored a touchdown to go up 16-14. Giants scored a touchdown to make it 21-16. And unfortunately, with about 2 minutes to go in the game, I've read different things. A minute, 2 minutes, final 3 minutes. You get a lot of discrepancies in newspaper ads, newspaper articles. But probably in the last 2 to 3 minutes of the game, the Bears scored the final touchdown because the Giants got the ball back and were marching down the field to maybe kick the game-winning. Not that easy to kick field goals back then, but they were marching back down the field when the clock ran out. But the Bears down 21-16. There were 5 lead changes. Scored a touchdown on a like a hook and lateral. There's a picture. There's a guy from the Bears. He has no helmet on. You can see there's a picture of him. There's like 2 Giants behind him, almost kind of like maybe trying to run him down or tackle him or whatever. And he's seen like going like this, and the ball is in midair. And there's a guy in the foreground who was a Bear player who he's lateraling the ball to, who's going to catches the ball and runs the rest of the way in for a touchdown, which was the 6th lead change. You get 6 lead changes back in the 30s. Holy, first of all, have something very rare to actually have 2 teams in the same game score over 20 points. 1933. 6 lead changes. Now, I saw also where there was over 3, each team had over 300 yards. The newspaper articles I see, I don't even know if either team. I think maybe after maybe the guys were tackled for losses on passes and stuff like that, whatever, I think brought the numbers down. You know what I mean? But both teams had almost 300 yards, which once again back then was a heck of a lot. It was just an unbelievable game. Unbelievable game to me. Right, the 33 championship game, to me is the greatest one of all time. Let's see here. Badger tied for the NFL receiving title in 1934. In 1934, he was tied for the receiving title with 16 receptions. With 206 yards, including 1 touchdown. He was named to the All-NFL team 3 times, 31, 33, and 34. Let's see. Before joining the Giants, Badger played with the Red Grange-led New York Yankees in the American Football League. With 13 games in 27 and 28. Well, if he played for the New York Yankees in the American Football League, that was just 1926. So I'm not sure what they're talking about there. But he played pro baseball for 3 seasons. He's outstanding player. So I mean, without question, and as I said, he only played for the Giants for I think it was, I said, like 6 seasons here. Yeah, but back then to play, you played for the same team for 6 years back then. That's a lot. So Red Badger, that's good. It's nice to see an old time player get on there. Number 69, because of Eli Manning, we had 2005 draft. We only went with 4 players, but with 3 of them, we hit it. 3 of the players we had, we knocked that out of the park. And this guy, number good old Brandon Jacobs, number 69. The way that dude ran, man, I'll tell you what. It's just amazing because it's like, just go find another Brandon Jacobs, right? You just it's like maybe a Derrick Henry, something like big, tall guy can run you over and stuff like that, right? You just don't stamp those out. There's not like hundreds of them made every day. You know what I mean? I was still looking for that. Where's the next Brandon Jacobs at? Right? I mean, the way the guy would just run people over. One of the problems was every now and he'd get a little nicked up because he would just try to run you over, and a lot of times he would wind up getting banged up and all. But man, him and Ahmad, Derek Ward. Oh my God, man, we had some good running with Eli Manning. Plaxico and Amani Toomer, and we had Shockey up to 2007. Man, we had some good, and then that offensive line. Holy cow, that man. Man, we had an offense back then. Man, it wasn't like we were setting offensive scoring records and all like that, but we had some really good, talented players. And, back then, I mean, a lot of them unfortunately got injured and whatever, but, man, we had some good players back then. But good old Brandon Jacobs in there at number 69. Then you got the Hammer, Mr. Keith Hamilton. He comes in at number 68. Can't argue here at all. He said after winning the Super Bowls in 86 and 90, the Giants began transitioning their roster in 92. They selected a defensive lineman out of the University of Pittsburgh, right? Like Ron Donald, huh? Out of Pittsburgh, huh? Named Keith the Hammer Hamilton in the 4th round. He went on to continue the Giants' dominant defensive ways, serving as a bridge between the previous championship teams and a new era. And he always added a lot of colorful personality in his time with Big Blue. When I walked into the locker room, the first people I saw were Leonard Marshall and LT. And I was like, oh, my God, Hamilton recalled. I just couldn't believe it because they were my childhood heroes. Hamilton played 173 games for the Giants. I mean, that's a lot of games. A lot of games. Tied with Hall of Famer Harry Carson for 10th most in franchise history. His 63 sacks still ranked 5th in the team's history book as a tackle. Really impressive. Sandwich between O.C. Umenyiora, who had 75, and Justin Tuck, who had 60 and a half. Of course, we went to the Super Bowl, but him, we had some, and the nice thing is that you had, we had him, and then we also drafted Strahan too. So we had those two guys together going through. The problem, the shame of it is that we were transitioning. We had the teams from the 80s, and then it was in 1990 when they won the other. So then a lot of those guys started going their own ways. The coaches started going their own ways. Taylor retired. Banks went to the Redskins. Sims retired. So we were transitioning. So we started building a new team. But we had Canal, Graham, and Brown as your quarterbacks. Not they were the absolute horriblest of quarterbacks, but we were transitioning. Unfortunately, sadly, a lot of like Strahan and Hamilton's best seasons were kind of like wasted. But at least we had that one magical season in 2000 with Hamilton. And we got blown out in the Super Bowl, and that was a tough Super Bowl to watch. Let me tell you what. But that was a magical season. At 12-4, I think it was the 41-0 NFL championship game that win. Man, let me tell you what. That was some sweet stuff. At the Giants, anytime we have so far, it's only been 2, right? But anytime we've had a championship game at home to go to the Super Bowl, the Giants won them both, and both by shutout. 17-0 over the Redskins, because they were called the Redskins back then. Sorry if I offend anybody when I say Redskins. 17-0, and of course 41-0 over the Vikings. But that was a magical season. Magical season. Thing I remember most about that season, not the most, but it was that in 2000. That's when I got the DirecTV Sunday ticket, and I remember watching every Giant game. I'd be up there at 1:00 in the afternoon watching the game. I was like, oh, it's so cool. So I got to watch all the games. I went to Giant games, and they did so well. Had a great season. All right, then we got Brian Kelly of the Crunch Bunch. Yep, can't argue here. He had a long career with the Giants. He had a lot of bad football. He was 73 to 83, I think he was. Brian Kelly, Brad Van Pelt, Lawrence Taylor, and Harry Carson formed one of the most renowned linebacker corps in NFL history, known as the Crunch Bunch, with the 353rd overall selection in the 14th round. In 1973 NFL draft, the Giants picked Kelly, a ferocious hitter out of California Lutheran, who became the school's first college football Hall of Fame inductee. Kelly went on to play 143 games in the Giants uniform and helped the Giants eventually end their 18-year playoff drought in 1981. So, I mean, yeah, it's, Kelly's 15 interceptions are the third most by a Giants linebacker behind Brad Van Pelt and Sam Huff, who each have 18. So, yeah, you can't argue with Brian Kelly. Now, number 66 is interesting. Cal Hubbard. Now, he's the only guy, okay, only guy in the Football Hall of Fame and the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, with the Baseball Hall of Fame, he's in there as an umpire. But, I mean, he was a great player. He played 1927 was his first season with the Giants. He only played like 3 years with the Giants, though. So the thing was he was a great player. Unfortunately, we traded him away. In his best seasons, he played with the Packers. But, he only played 3 years with the Giants. Once again, great player. But is he worthy of being on the Giants' top 100? He only played like 3 years. He only played 2 seasons. And I think he said his last season. I'm going to look it up here. Cal Hubbard. I mean, as I said, he was, really. I mean, his first season was in 1927, the year the Giants won the first championship. Let's see. Do we have any stats here? Yeah, 36. Well, actually, in 36, he played with 2 teams. He played with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Okay, not the baseball team, the football team. So in 36, he played 6 games with the Giants, and he played 1 game with the Pirates. So he played in 1927 and 28. He played with the Giants. He played 23 games for the Giants. 1927, he was a first-team All-Pro for 1 year with the Giants. Then he came back and he played 6 other games with the Giants. So he played only 29 games with the Giants. Now, once again, he was a phenomenal player in 27 and 28. But when he came back in 1936, he was, I don't want to say he was a shell of himself, but he only played in 7 games. He played 1 game with the Pittsburgh Pirates and played 6 games with the Giants. So I said in 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, and 35, he played with the Packers. He was an All-Pro 4 times. 3 of his 4 times he was an All-Pro was with the Packers. So he played basically 2.5 seasons with the Giants. So once again, he deserves to be, on the top, list of, phenomenal players of all time. He's not in the Hall of Fame for nothing. Let me tell you that. But he basically played 2.5 seasons for the Giants, and he's on the top 100 list. He had 1 season. He was an All-Pro his rookie season, 1927. So I'm a little question about that one, but who cares, right? But I mean, as far as this top list here, as I said, I mean, at least 10 guys. That's the questionable one I have. All right, then we got Sean O'Hara, right? I mean, the undrafted one we got him. I think it was from the Browns. Right, yeah, he arrived at Rutgers University in 1995. He was a skinny walk-on as a tight end. Right, he wasn't skinny by the time he got to the Giants. I'll tell you that much. He left as a team captain and all Big East tackle. He made the Cleveland Browns roster as undrafted rookie in 2000. Caught a touchdown pass as a tackle eligible his second season. Didn't know that. O'Hara joined the Giants in 2004, the same year as Tom Coughlin and Eli Manning. So 2004, right, we got Snee, right? We got O'Hara, and we got Eli Manning and Coughlin. So, good season. He was one of the 5 captains on the 2007 team, which won the Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl 42, and became one of the just 3 centers in Giants history to be selected to at least 3 Pro Bowls. Bart Oates and Ray Whiteacker. So, unfortunately for him, let's see, when he announced his retirement following the 2010 season, he mentioned several people who are particularly meaningful to him, But I mean, it's just a shame he didn't want to play in, because by the time, you got to look, I mean, he's a center, you get beat up. I couldn't even play 3 snaps in there without having to walk off the side of the field and cry for my mommy. He started in 2000. 2010. That's 11 seasons as a center. Now, not that he started every game with the Browns and all that, but when he was trying to play with the Giants, he was in there. So I mean, he played a lot of football. It's just a shame, that it's like, man, you could. I mean, it's like the same thing with Tiki, and the same thing with him. I knew, I'm sure there was other things too, but I know one of the things I heard him talking about with Tiki was that how hard it was, after the season was over with, to recuperate and then mentally, right? So I'm going to get beat up again for this next 4, 5, 6 months. It's like, getting, and the Giants are thinking, hey, Tiki, here's the ball. Hey, Tiki, here's the ball again. Tiki, this time run out, we'll throw you a screen pass, and we're going to end you the, he got beat up. So it's just mentally, as I said, it's just a shame with Tiki because he retired in 2006. If he played one more season, he gets a Super Bowl ring. With Sean O'Hara, he had a Super Bowl ring, so good for him. But if he played one more season, once again, which is, sometimes you don't know, what I mean? But he would have had himself 2 Super Bowl rings, but it is what it is. But at least he got himself 1. So to have Sean O'Hara on this list, yeah, no complaints here. No complaints. Then we got good old Jim Burt. Came in the same year, I do believe, LT. I think it was 1981. Let's see, does it say when he got drafted? Yeah. Burt originally joined the Giants as an undrafted rookie from the U in 1981, the year the team went on to make its first postseason appearance since 1963. Burt started 71 of 93 games for the Giants and was selected to the Pro Bowl in 1986. Let's see here. We had very good defense back then, right? And it just goes to show you, they weren't all drafted. Right, somebody like Brian Kelly was taken in the later rounds. Burt, undrafted free agent. Right. Let's see. So obviously, George Young assembled, the defense. It was in '81. We had Burt, but we also obviously drafted Lawrence Taylor, had Harry Carson, and we drafted a couple of years later. We got Banks, and we had Reasons, and now also Pepper Johnson, right? But then we had Leonard Marshall, we had George Martin, Jim Burt, Perry Williams, Elvis Patterson, Kenny Hill, Terry Kennard, Haynes, Collins, so it's just, really, just great players, great players, the good defensive front, everything like that. So I have Jim Burt on here. Absolutely. Can't complain about that one at all. Then we go from, actually Burt was kind of like a nose tackle, right? He was the 3-4. He was the one right over the center. Dick Modzelewski, who played for the Giants, was a tackle, right? Actually, his name is interesting because Modzelewski has a brother. So Dick Modzelewski was the younger brother. He was called Little Mo. His brother was called Big Mo. But in reality, when they both grow up, Dick Modzelewski actually was bigger than Big Mo. But Dick Modzelewski was part of the Giants, the original Giants front 4, right? With Cat Cabbage, Robustelli, Greer, Dick Modzelewski. I mean, that was the front 4. It's Sam Huff in the middle. Really, that was probably the original front 4. I mean, defensive wise, not in the NFL. I mean, it took notoriety, shall I say, right? He played for 4 teams in a 14-year NFL career, including an 8-season stint with the Giants from 56 to 63. Let's see. And then Modzelewski coached in the NFL for 22 years, including a 1978 season as the Giants defensive coordinator. Modzelewski entered the NFL with Washington in 1953. He only missed a couple games his entire career. Let's see. He played 2 seasons. Let's see. Group. Well, I thought it said something here. I guess not. Oh, Modulewski never missed a game in his career. 14-year career, never missed a game. Absolutely unbelievable. Let's see here. The Redskins selected Modulewski in the second round of the 53 draft. He played 2 seasons in Washington before being traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. After 1 year in Pittsburgh, Modulewski was again traded. This time twice in less than a week. The Steelers dealt him to the Lions, who 3 days later sent him to the Giants for another defensive tackle, Ray Krause, his former teammate at Maryland. In New York, the low-key Modulewski joined a group of outstanding defensive players that included Pro Football Hall of Famer Andy Robustelli, Sam Huff, Emlyn Tunnell. Modulewski, Robustelli, Greer, and Jim Cabbage form what is still one of the greatest defensive lines in Giants history. A group that helped the Giants win 6 Eastern Conference titles in 8 seasons. The number 62, we got Greg Larson. Yeah, unfortunately, he just passed away. A good center. Really good center of the Giants for a long time. Once again, dependable. Actually, it's kind of funny. Well, not kind of funny. But if you look at the thumbnail of any of my latest videos, oops, sorry, buddy. Down in the corner of my thumbnail, the thumbnail of this video, there's a picture of a player, just the head. It's got an old-time helmet on it and everything. Well, I went to Fiverr, and I just thought it was so cool. I had my face in that picture. But the original picture itself is of Greg Larson. That's his helmet from 62 or 63, I'm going to say. And it has him, he's sitting down, I think, on the sideline, right? And, he's like, he's got a mean-looking face and everything like that. Well, I had somebody from Fiverr put my face. So if you look at the thumbnail, that's his helmet and everything like that, face mask and helmet and everything, but that's my face in there. But that's Greg Larson. That's where I got that. That's where I got that helmet and everything from. But no offensive lineman has played more games in New York Football Giants uniform than Greg Larson, who suited up 179 times for Big Blue from 61 to 73. Of the roughly 1,800 players who have appeared in at least one game for the Giants, just 8, regardless of position, have more service time with franchise than Larson. Let's see. Larson was a 6th-round draft choice out of the University of Minnesota. Also, you look at it, too. All right. He said, of the players who have appeared in at least one game for the Giants, just 8, regardless of position, have more service time in franchise history than the Giants. But if you look at all the guys that have more time than him, all of them playing in basically the 16-game schedule. Now, he played in 13 seasons. Okay. Now, basically, he only missed like a couple games, 3 games, I think, in his whole career. So if he played in another 26 games, if he played 13 seasons, if he played in the 16-game schedule, he would have played probably in at least another 25, 26 games, as long as he didn't get injured. So he would have had over 200 games he would have been in, which would have put him he would have been 4th of all time, behind Howard Cross, Michael Strahan, and Eli Manning. So, I mean, he wasn't absolutely phenomenal, but his longevity. He only was an All-Pro 1 year, I think, in 1968. Larson was a 6th-round draft choice out of the University of Minnesota, where he was a team captain and helped lead the Golden Gophers to a national championship in 1960. He joined the Giants in a pivotal 1961 season when Ellie Sherman took over as head coach and the organization obtained quarterback Whitey Tittle from the 49ers and Del Schaffner from the Los Angeles Rams in trades. So, I mean, he was just a real good, solid player for the New York Giants for many, many years. And I said he came in at 61. Well, 61, 62, and 63, we went to championship games. But from 64 to 73, those 10 seasons, we only had 2 winning seasons, 1970 and 72. 73 was his final season. And we started off 1-0-1 in 73, and we finished 1-11. So we ended up 2-11-1 in the 73 season. And he's just, he had a lot of injuries, a lot of operations on his knees, and he just couldn't do it anymore. So is what it is. But Greg Larson on this list, absolutely. And which brings me to the last and final guy on this list here. All right, JPP, absolutely, yeah. I'm sure if he had a longer career with the Giants, he might even be a little bit higher on this list. Right? Because remember, we had him for a while, and we traded him away, and good for him. And he left, and he won himself a Super Bowl. So good for you, JPP. Way to go. When the Giants selected JPP 15th overall in the 2010 NFL Draft, Jerry Reese proclaimed that JPP has the biggest upside of any player in the draft. As an NFL sophomore in 2011, JPP demonstrated why. He used his 6'5", 275 pounds athleticism and quickness to become a fierce and persistent pass rusher. He had 16 and a half sacks, one fewer than the combined total of Osi Umenyiora, Justin Tuck, and Mathias Kiwanuka, and the fourth highest total in Giants history. JPP was selected to his first of 3 career Pro Bowls and was named first-team All-Pro by the Associated Press. He was twice selected NFC Defensive Player of the Week in December, when he was also named the Player of the Month. One of the most memorable plays was blocking Dan Bailey's 47-yard field goal with 1 second remaining to preserve a Giant victory in Dallas. From 2010 to 2017, JPP appeared in 111 regular season games for the Giants, recorded 433 tackles, 58 sacks, 7 fumble recoveries, 2 interceptions, and scored twice. Tuck said he was just relentless. He made plays that were somewhat remarkable in some cases. It just seemed like he had go gadget limbs. I remember some of the sacks he made. It seemed like he was tackling the quarterback and his arms would get there like 2 seconds before the rest of his body would. He was a prototypical lanky, powerful, fast defensive end. If you're thinking about it from the perspective of how you can create someone to play that position, big hands, long arms, explosive, fast twitch, power, leverage, he had it all. Yeah, he was. I think he showcased it in so many different ways, where he was able to make moves on the outside and go around the lineman or power them to the quarterback or make an inside move to beat them on that side as well. So JPP absolutely on this list. Yep, without question. Certainly deserves to be on there. So good for him. Let's see here. Hold on. So no arguments there, from any of that stuff. So I'm in an hour here. So I'm just gonna skip now to look who landed on the PUP list. Well, unfortunately, I guess we kind of know maybe why. Van Roten. You say Roten, I say Roten. So I've heard it called both ways. Why he was brought in. Unfortunately, 2 guys just got put on, and unfortunately, these guys are, there's like what do you call it? There's death and taxes. Well, there's there's some things like that in football. There's certain guys just get injured or going to get injured. Shane Lemieux, Ellerson Smith. We can go on. It's a shame, but some guys just. So I mean, we got Aaron Robinson, right? He still is not back from his torn, which happened almost 2 years ago. And Evan Neal is, he had the operation, and he's coming back. But as everything was being said and all of that and everything in the the OTAs and all, oh no, we plan on him being back. Yep, training camp, he should be good to go. Yeah, that's what we're shooting for. So. Of course, when people were talking to Evan, how you feel? Feel good. Plan on being back. Training camp. Yep. Good. All that stuff. So, nope. So, as Evan Neal turns, tune in tomorrow. But he's on PUP now. He comes off PUP anytime he can pass a physical, but he ain't passing a physical right now. And same thing with Aaron Robinson. Right. So. I guess now we know we brought Van Roten in. So Don't know if we got signed or not, anything like that. Once again, I said, we got a lot of guards. We got a lot of guys. So, but we do sign. I'll just say Rotten. We do bring Van Rotten in. The guy's 34. Be on the cheap. So we'll have to wait and see. But with the Giants set to start their training camp practices on Wednesday, the NFL team, placed offensive tackle Evan Neal and cornerback Aaron Robinson on the physically unable to perform list on Tuesday. Designation will prevent the players from practicing, but they will be able to join their teammates on the field by receiving medical clearance. Neal missed 10 games in 2023 and had ankle surgery during the offseason, which is, I guess, he's still trying to recuperate from. Let's see, Neal lined up at right tackle for almost every Giants offensive snap in the first 6 games of the season, but in the remaining 11 games, he played only once, finally going on the injury reserve on December 24th. Robinson also started training camp last year on the PUP list, and he missed the entire 2023 season because of a knee injury, and it was a bad, it was the ACL and the MCL. But I mean, it's like 2 years. I think when it happened, not quite 2 full 2 years. It was like October, I think, of 2022. So it's 20 months, 21 months, and he's still not back. And this is his final season. Yeah, because he was not drafted by this regime. He was drafted in 2021. So 2021, 2, 3. This is last season. So good. He could certainly easily get released. We'll have to wait and see. Don't know. Right. Neal and Robinson played at Alabama. Robinson didn't play all the time at Alabama, but a consensus All-America as the Crimson Tide left tackle in 2021. Neal joined the Giants as a 7th selection. He started 13 regular season games and 2 playoff contests at right tackle as a rookie. He missed 4 games in the middle of the season because of a shoulder injury. New York added Robinson from UCF in the 3rd round of the 2021 draft. He had started his college career with 13 games for Alabama in 2016 before transferring. His NFL career has been beset by injuries. As soon as we drafted him, he had muscle core surgery. So, he's just nothing but injuries. After missing the first 7 games of his rookie season because of core muscle injury, Robinson played in 9 games in 2021. Robinson started the Giants' 2022 season opener, but he missed the next 2 games after he had an appendectomy. Robinson then returned to start the 4th game of the season, but a knee injury caused him to miss the rest of the 2022 campaign, and he didn't make it back in 2023. So he had an appendectomy. He had blew his knee out, muscle core surgery. He played like 10 games, and he's had, The Giants veteran players report for training camp on Tuesday, and it's 4 minutes from now will be Wednesday, and they start butting heads, and then it's on. New York begins its 3-game preseason schedule on August 8th against the Detroit Lions and kicks off its regular season slate on September 8th. So August 8th, September 8th. Some big dates. So, fire that bum. Fire that bum, Neal. Well, you can only do so much. I guess they're waiting for him to come back, and we'll have to wait and see. See what they wind up doing with him. I'm sure they'll give him an opportunity to become the right tackle. We'll have to wait and see. This is a big year for him. Big year for him. You guys got to stay healthy. He's got to stay healthy. Every year he's getting. It doesn't matter how good you are, how good you can be, or whatever. If you're never available. The thing that's going to stink is that the Giants do let him go. He'll go play for some other team, stay healthy, and have a very nice career. I'm sure that'll wind up happening. But, it's a big year for Neal. Big year for Neal. I said this, I think it was like last night. I think I said this, whatever. But, you have to pick up his 5th-year option before the 4th year starts. So this is his 3rd year. So the only evidence that they have is that he struggles at tackle. The other evidence that they have for Evan Neal is that he gets injured a lot, right? So that's all the only evidence they have so far, right? So after the third season, if he still struggles, they maybe have to kick him in the guard, or if he can't stay healthy. That's all the evidence they have. 3 years with the Giants, and every year he stays injured. Well, then they might possibly not pick up his fifth-year option, right? Be interesting, though, okay? If they kick him in the guard and he does okay, and they do pick up his fifth-year option, would be if your option be picked up as a guard or picked up as a tackle, because there'd be a little bit difference in money there. So, but once again, it's going to be a huge year for Neal. The guy's got to get healthy. So he had surgery on an ankle. I mean, I don't know, maybe January, February. I don't know. March, April, May, June, July. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know exactly what happened to him and all, but I guess we're just waiting. So we'll have to wait and see for Neal. But apparently what Dable was saying and all of that, all the guys to be ready and good to go by training camp is just not happening. So unfortunately, two guys that get injured, stay injured, are always injured, and blah, 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 is Aaron Robinson and Evan Neal. And once again, they're injured. So it is what it is. But today, training camp starts. Okay, 1 minute. 1 minute will be Wednesday. And Wednesday, training camp starts, and we're off to a brand new season, guys. So Hard Knocks 4, pretty cool. So next Tuesday, we got Hard Knocks 5, and then that episode will be all over. All right, guys, been 1 hour and 11 minutes. Whoever spent any time listening to me live, thank you, thank you, thank you. Or if anybody's going to spend any time watching a replay this, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. As always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants. Woo! Oh, yeah.